Back to the Future, Doctor Who, The Terminator, The Lake House. All iconic time travel tales. But one that doesn't always come near the top of these lists is an underrated 90s British sitcom featuring a magical street that took one unsuspecting man back to the 1940s, war-torn Britain. For this episode of Two Geeks, Two Beers, we're looking at Goodnight Sweetheart.
Oh.
So I'm Tom. With me is Morgan.
Hello.
It's Two Geeks, Two Beers. We're 90s nerds, and you can't get more nerdy and 90s than this. So memories of Goodnight Sweetheart before we get cracking?
I was a big fan of this in the 90s. Loved it as a kid.
Yeah.
Which is odd when you look back on it and examine some of the life lessons that perhaps it was teaching you.
Yeah.
But no, I remember really digging Goodnight Sweetheart. That said, I am looking forward to this episode, to you re-educating me in the Adventures of Gary Sparrow.
Well remembered.
Yeah, because I remember the concept. I remember loving it, but I don't really remember the minutiae. I don't really remember the ins and outs of how it all works, the supporting cast.
Fine. Well, if you didn't know, which is quite possible, it was a British sci-fi sci-fi time travel sitcom, and you don't get many of those, do you?
Yeah.
Really?
No. And
a romantic sci-fi time travel sitcom.
Is that too many genres?
Yeah,
it's a lot of genres.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll get onto this, but what I loved about Goodnight Sweetheart, I think the reason I loved it so much, and we haven't even described the premise yet, but we will. If you've never heard of this show, if you're from the US or outside the UK, or just never watched Goodnight Sweetheart.
If you were born in 2007.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah, it's full-grown adults now who were born in 2007.
Yeah.
It, like Red Dwarf before it was a sitcom, but the sci-fi concept or concepts at the heart of it were genuinely well thought out and genuinely compelling.
Yes.
Which I'm sure you'll get onto.
Right. So it stars Nicholas Lyndhurst, a British national treasure.
Institution. Yeah.
We'll get onto him later. Created by Lawrence Marks and Maurice Gran for the BBC. So Gary Sparrow, he's an accidental time traveller, which is, you don't get, is that like a regular thing? If you think about it, most time travel people in TV or film, they're normally trying to time travel.
time travel people.
Yeah, whereas he didn't mean to.
No.
So he essentially leads a double life through the use of a time portal, which allows him to travel between the London of the 1990s, as it was at the time, and the London of the 1940s during the Second World War. It premiered on BBC One on November 18th, 1993, and ran for 6 series, which is more than I thought it was, until its finale on June 28th, 1999.
Now, I'm sure you get onto this as to exactly why Gary kept returning to the 1940s. Because there was a reason, and we will get onto it.
Yeah.
But looking back now, the 90s were pretty great.
Yeah.
Great music.
Yeah.
Just the world just seemed a lot less depressing.
Yeah, like
so why would you choose to go back to
the war as well?
The Second World? If it was like I go back
50s
or
the
60s, you'd be like, all right, I can see the appeal.
Yeah.
Wartime
and the 90s, as you say, were great.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah. Had all sorts going on.
New Labour, Britpop.
Yeah.
Things could only get better, and they did. It's like things can only get worse, Gary, if you go back to the 1940s.
Well, coming up in this show, we have how Goodnight Sweetheart shared a cinematic universe with another classic British sitcom.
What? Wow.
The reasoning a man committing bigamy across 2 time zones comes up with.
Okay.
And what might have happened to one of the world's most notorious serial killers.
I love the idea that someone is listening to this, and we still haven't we still haven't described what the show is about, and they're like, okay, so I know it's about a guy who time travels. Well, we sort of have. It's like it's a guy who accidentally time travels back to
leap or something
to the 1940s, but now it's like bigamy, serial killers. What the fuck is going on?
So the guys who made this were also behind other 90s sitcoms, such as
they were like sitcom dons, weren't they?
Yeah, Birds of a Feather.
Yeah.
New Statesman with Rick Mail.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah.
And so the pair were writing another show called Love Hurts at the time. And they were writing a scene based in London. And this is where they had the idea for Goodnight Sweetheart, where they realised back in the early 90s, certain streets of London hadn't changed at all since the 1940s. And so they were like, oh, I wonder, Can
I just say...
The idea came from there.
Can I just say quickly, on just because we'll never get a chance on this podcast to talk about birds of a feather again.
Yeah, probably not, no.
No, I mean, it's unlikely.
You never know.
You never know. If we were to talk about something starring Pauline Quirk, perhaps. Yeah. But something that always got me with Birds of a Feather is it's quite a broad, silly sitcom with the most morose, maudlin theme song.
Oh, I know. And you're right.
A great theme song.
Yeah.
And the title sequence, which you get it up.
I'm gonna get it up.
It's right. Get it up because it's the two lead characters who, again, if you don't know about what Birds of a Feather is, it's basically a sitcom about these two sisters.
Yeah.
But the title sequence is them as like little girls,
I know.
And then it shows them like
it's really sad,
aging, and it's got this really sort of morose, and the music's really sad, and then it cuts to this really quite broad, very silly sitcom. It's such a weird clash of styles and tones.
Here is the intro to Birds of a Feather.
Opening credits.
This won't make any sense to anyone who's never seen it, but as he said, it is quite a laugh out loud.
Yeah.
Silly sitcom, great sitcom, but not what this makes it seem like it's going to be at all.
Not what this promises.
And I think Linda Robson's singing this, the star of Birds of a Feather.
That's a little bonus fact smash for you there.
So the intro just shows them growing up through the years in photos. And well made as well, because obviously they weren't really growing up. They got the actresses' photos in there.
Yeah, and like for the 90s.
That's Pauline Quirk singing as well.
I didn't know they sang it. Now I'm listening to it, I'm like, it's not that good. That makes sense. Like it's them at their, like from kids to wedding to like the whole point is they get divorced because their husbands are a pair of wrong uns. What will I do?
Really sad.
And they're like looking miserable. And it's like that's a title sequence for a great show, but a very different show. Yeah.
Well, there we go. That was our one opportunity to talk about it, and there it was. So we've talked about it already a little bit, but it has sci-fi elements.
Yeah.
But the writers never set out to make this like a sci-fi show.
Yeah.
They deliberately didn't want to get bogged down with explaining why the time portal works, which I think we're watching it going, but why? Why is it there?
Time travel rules.
Tell us why it's there. And they were like, I don't care.
It just appears.
And at one point, they, when they were talking about why Gary can access it and how, they said that we don't even know. So they couldn't explain it even wanted to.
So this portal from memory is just like in a street somewhere.
Yeah. So it's down some random street in London. And he walks down it, and then he turns out, and he doesn't realise where he's gone at first in the first episode, and suddenly he realises, what the hell?
And can only Gary access it? It's not like just no one else
they sort of
has happened to stumble upon it.
Yeah, they play fast and loose with that throughout the series. But generally speaking, only
don't worry about it.
Only he has access to it unless some other shenanigans occur.
Okay, yeah.
So we'll get on to it. Goodnight Sweetheart is very much of its time.
Yeah.
The 90s, right?
I love how we were like, the 90s are great, and now we're saying,
I know.
But some of the morals weren't great.
This is the thing. As guys who are in our I hate to say it, to late 30s.
Wow.
38 next year, mate.
You are, I'm not.
I still think of the 90s as a relatively recent thing.
Yeah.
It isn't really.
No.
30 years ago.
What was the 90s? 10 years ago?
I know.
Yeah.
Think about that.
No. Times have changed.
So a lot happens in 30 years, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So in this film, TV series, it's about a man who lives a double life and commits adultery.
Yeah.
And yet he's the hero of the piece.
More than adultery. Bigamy. Bigamy. It was quite big, bigamy in the 90s. I didn't really know what bigamy was.
Right.
But Goodnight Sweetheart and Peter Barlow in Coronation Street famously committed bigamy.
Oh.
And I was like, those two examples introduced me to the concept. Not that I jumped on the concept.
No.
I'm not saying I was a big fan of the concept, but
So I think this concept could happen in a show today, but they wouldn't have put this into the plot, I don't think.
Well, again, going back to my point about the concept actually being really interesting, this idea of like a man, like a TV show about a man living a double life.
Yeah.
He goes back in time. He lives two lives across two time zones.
But not that far
two time
apart,
periods.
Enough apart, I suppose.
But and he starts up a family, or has a love interest and a wife, and that's a great setup for a drama. That's like Breaking Bad with time travel.
Well,
you could do Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah.
And they've done the gritty reboot Bel-Air.
Imagine a gritty reboot of this.
You could do it.
Yeah.
You could do it. It'd be great.
Well, I always thought a good idea for a sci-fi Black Mirror style show or film or whatever is like, if you were able to plug into your memories from the past, and then you had like a save file of a different life, where in that life you might be married with kids or whatever, and then you have different save files, and you sort of forget which one was the real life because you've plugged into so many save files, but in each one you've created people and all sorts, and yet you've got the original life.
Does it even matter which one's
real? Which one's the real one at this point?
Ooh.
But it's got to be made into Black Mirror. That's great.
Yeah,
Anyway, I feel like even though on paper Gary's a bit of an arse, because it's Nicholas Lyndhurst, he makes it work. In his own way. And as we say, it's the 90s, lad mags, Britpop, Vindaloo. It's just the way this seemed quite tame really, at the time.
Look, we had FHM, so bigamy was fine back then, right? Yeah, okay.
30 years ago, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it still don't really explain the premise. We have a little bit. But anyway, so it's 1993.
Yeah.
Gary is a TV repairman. He's struggling with his life and his marriage. He's married to an ambitious wife called Yvonne.
Yeah.
And I love that it's all about, he gets annoyed that she's like wanting a career. Like, how dare she?
Well, look, and to be clear, I am not defending Gary Sparrow's actions. I'm not saying let's all embrace bigamy.
Yeah. But
my memory is that his wife in the 1940s is very nice and very sweet.
Of course she was. She's in the 40s.
No, but I don't think it's just that like she's like some subservient housewife. I generally think she's just a lot nicer to Gary.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Whereas his wife in the 90s is always just giving him shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, stay in the 40s, mate.
Yeah, Yvonne is played in a way that she's just a bit of a nagging, but watching it back, she wasn't that bad.
Right.
She didn't deserve this.
She's like, Gary, I'm going to work. And he's like,
she's not beating him up or anything.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so unreasonable going to work.
She just wants him to be ambitious and stuff. He's like, leave me alone. Anyway, so he's best friends with Ron in the 90s, who helps him out. He's the only one that he kind of confides in about the situation, and Ron just kind of goes along with it.
Yeah.
So after a TV repair call out in London's East End, he accidentally discovers a time portal at Duckett's Passage, which leads to wartime London. Here he meets Phoebe, a barmaid at the Royal Oak pub, her father Eric, who runs the pub, and Reg Deadman, or Deadman.
Probably Deadman.
A dim-witted but friendly policeman. And his grandson, I think, is in the modern day, played by the same actor.
Okay.
And so when he realises he can come and go as he likes, he starts dating Phoebe. And what a cad. Just goes along with it. So let's have a look at some clips, shall we, from the first episode of when he first stumbles back to the past.
Oh, excuse me, I'm looking for Hugh Gateskill House. Hugh Gateskill House, anyone? Your starter for 10?
It's always confusing because I'm used to Nicholas Lyndhurst sounding a bit more Cockney and Only Fools and Horses. And he's a bit posher in this one.
Of course it is. Yeah, very convincing.
Oh, hello. Haven't seen you in here before. What can I get you?
Actually, I just came in for directions. I'm looking for Hugh Gateskill House.
Oh, sorry, means nothing to me. You sure it's round here?
Well, I asked a copper. He said it was just round the corner.
Sorry. Oh, Dad might know, though. He knows everything, he thinks. Dad!
Half a mo, I'm coming up. What is it?
Oh, this gentleman wants to know where Hugh Gateskill lives.
Hugh Gateskill? Don't ring a bell with me. Is Hugh Gateskill a regular?
No, not Hugh Gateskill. Hugh Gateskill House. It's a tower block.
Oh, what? Yeah, what do you want to know for, anyway? You're not from round these parts, are you?
No, I'm from Cricklewood. As luck would have it.
Cricklewood? That's south of the river, is it?
No. Well, have we declared war on South London or something?
Don't you cheat me, you young pup. I was in both battles of the Somme. I'm entitled to ask. We've got to be careful. Careless talk costs lives.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I have to stay in period. Right.
Hey?
Well, I must say, you might be taking this 1940s theme a bit too far. I mean, for a start, it doesn't seem to be much of a hit with the crucial 18 to 25-year-olds. Hey? I mean, where's the younger generation?
Where are they? I'll tell you where the younger generation are. They've taken the king's shilling.
Ah. What's the king going to do when his gas goes out, eh?
Calm down!
Now let's look back at where Gary's gone back to the 90s and how he deals with seeing Yvonne.
Where the hell have you been? What time do you think it is?
Giving him shit
I was going to ask you that question.
Already nagging.
What year?
Gary, what are you talking about?
And he's got lipstick on his face.
And look at the state of you. Gary, are you all right? Has there been an accident?
No. I finished my last delivery and I popped into this pub for a quiet half.
Oh, which turned into half a dozen noisy pints.
No. Yvonne, this pub was... Well, what happened? The landlord tripped and he fell down an open trapdoor into his cellar. He banged his head. He stopped breathing.
Oh, and I suppose you gave him the kiss of life.
Yeah, I did. Me. Gary Sparrow, television repairman. Back there, I fought for a man's life and I won.
Gary, are you winding me up?
Can't visualise me as a hero, can you?
Frankly, no. And get those dirty overalls off the duvet cover.
See, she doesn't respect him. No. You're not a hero, Gary. Poor Gary. I mean, I know he's a bigamist. But
not yet, he isn't.
No, at this point, he's done nothing wrong. My boy, Gary.
So, to ensure that his visits do not interfere with history, Gary has Ron come in to help him as a confidant. And it says, now, again, I haven't watched the whole thing back, but it says that Ron helps him by supplying him with 1940s £5 notes and identity documents. Now, that makes him sound like he's some sort of genius spy when he's actually a bit of a down and out slob. From what I can remember, anyway.
Yeah. So he's like some counterfeit expert.
Maybe that's what it is. But
that's convenient.
Helps him out.
All right.
So anyway, so Gary's living a double life, as we say.
Yeah.
He explains his absences through working as a secret agent to Phoebe.
Sorry, we'll get back to that definitely.
Yeah.
But so time travel rules.
Okay.
They weren't thinking about it. We are.
Okay.
When he's in the 1940s,
yes,
time passes at the same rate. So if he spends,
I think so,
a day in the 1940s, he's missing from the 90s for a day. He doesn't come back at the same time he left.
Which doesn't make any sense because you think, should he? Yeah. So he doesn't go back to when he left.
Yeah.
That time has passed. So if he spends a week in the 40s, he's
gone for a week. So he can't spend too long.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, what he does do, he uses his knowledge of future events.
Yeah.
In the 40s, and he brings them back things that are like rationed and all sorts.
Yeah. Well, I remember you said then, he does want to change history.
But he does.
But I'm sure I remember him being like, oh, I wrote this song. Yes. And it's actually like...
That's what he does throughout the entire series.
Yeah.
He claims he's a singer-songwriter, and he just passes off modern pop songs as his own.
Yeah.
So I remember there was one bit where he sings like Smack My Bitch Up in the pub. But but that will change the world. I feel like he...
Yeah, you've erased the prodigy from
But I can't remember if when he does things like that with a song, whether that is not... Think about it, the plot of Yesterday, the Beatles film, is ripping off Goodnight Sweetheart.
Well, you were saying about a shared cinematic universe, because I've not seen the film Yesterday, but I've looked into it, and apparently it never actually explains...
Nah, it doesn't explain
why the world in which Himesh Patel inhabits has the music of the Beatles has vanished.
Yeah.
What if it's because of Gary Sparrow's
Maybe it is.
Activities? Maybe Gary Sparrow said, "Oh yeah, I've written, I want to hold your hand," and then he erases the Beatles.
Could be.
Yeah.
So for Phoebe in the past, Phoebe in the 40s, he says he's a secret agent, and that's why he's gone for periods of time.
Right.
And with Yvonne, he just sort of claims that he's on major call-outs as a TV repairman.
Yeah, it was a real big job.
Yeah.
I was there for a week.
But then he quits his job in 1995.
Yeah.
To buy and run a shop called Blitz and Pieces.
Great.
So what he does is he sells goods that he gets from the 40s.
Oh, that is clever.
As rare memorabilia.
But surely everyone would be like, well, this is far too mint condition. This must be a fake. It's a good idea.
Yeah. But
again, then he's removing things from the past.
Yeah.
So they're no longer in the past. So that's massively changing the present day. So every time he's going back to the present, he's not going back to the same present. He is changing.
Well, yeah, but it doesn't feel like he is. Nothing seems to really change that much.
No. It was for Himesh.
Yeah.
For Himesh, it was very different.
I know,
yeah. Beat of Gary Sparrow's wings caused Himesh Patel to forget about the Beatles. Everyone else to forget about the Beatles. Himesh didn't.
He's with both women for 5 years.
Yeah.
He marries Phoebe, so that is officially bigamy now.
Bigamy.
They even have a son called Michael.
And he doesn't have a son with Yvonne.
And he moves into a luxury flat in Mayfair.
What is he thinking?
Now, Yvonne also becomes pregnant in the present day.
Yeah.
But she has a miscarriage. Now, this is a sitcom, remember?
Yeah.
It is quite dark stuff.
Yeah. This it is crying out for this gritty reboot.
But Yvonne
already quite gritty.
Does become a successful businesswoman and becomes a millionaire, so she's all right. He'll get over it.
I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I know I called her a nag. Sounds like she could do better than Gary.
Yeah, she can. I think that's why she's a nag, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm all this dude.
Buck your fucking ideas up, mate.
So in his conversations with Ron, Gary rationalizes that he is not a bigamist. This is his reasoning.
Yeah.
Even though he was married to 2 different women.
Yeah.
Now, do you think he's got a point here? As the 2 women are not alive at the same time, is it okay?
No.
Because he's saying he considers himself faithful to both women.
Yeah.
And he argues, this is what he said, my wives exist in different temporal aspects of a 4-dimensional space-time continuum.
Yeah.
Though Ron considers this to be a typical bigamist excuse.
Yeah. A classic.
But, they're not existing. It's like, like the postcode rule. This is like the time travel rule. They're not in the same era.
He's got hoes in different time zones. But from Gary's perspective,
yes,
he is having an emotional and definitely sexual relationship with 2 women at the same time. That's the point, right?
But, they'll never meet. Or will they?
Oh.
Anyway. He also meets historical figures throughout the show, including Winston Churchill, George Formby, and Noel Coward. And if you didn't know, the show is named after the song Goodnight Sweetheart, a popular song of the 30s and 40s, popularised by Al Bowley in 1931. Nick Curtis is the guy who sings the theme tune of the show. And then during one episode, Gary and Phoebe actually refer to Bowley's death during the Second World War. So I like the little throwback to the homage, if you will. So the show concludes in 1945 on VE Day. So in 1999, Yvonne is suspicious of Gary's frequent absences. And I'm like, well, only now?
Yeah.
After 6 years. Only now you're going, he's gone away a lot, this Gary. Like,
right.
He's been doing it for years, love.
It's been another week that he spent fixing a TV.
So she follows him to the shop where she actually witnesses disappearance.
And this is the series finale, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's paying off. Oh, this is exciting. So that's a proper finale.
Yeah. So she sees him just disappear into thin air.
Yeah.
Gary is then trapped in the past when the portal closes. Now, this is where it gets... It's a bit quantum leapish, I suppose. He saves Clement Attlee from an assassination attempt by poisoning.
Right.
And because now he can't get back, he deduces that was my destiny. The reason this has happened is to save Clement Attlee.
Right.
Not to pretend that I wrote Careless Whisper.
No.
It's to save Clement Attlee's life.
Yeah.
Why, I don't know. But
so again, if by pretending to write Careless Whisper, has he just erased the musical career of George Michael?
Maybe George Michael doesn't exist.
What a loss
and
that
what's
would
the
be.
point if George Michael doesn't exist?
Yeah, exactly. But so the portal opened because the fates had some power, some greater
There's
powers.
only one man
The
that can
powers
help
that be had decided it's this TV repairman bigamist.
Yeah.
But all right. So and so also it was the lost rule of whatever will be.
I guess so.
Que sera, sera, where he had to go, but that doesn't make any sense.
No, because he does change things.
Because if the rule was everything he does just make things happen as they were, like he always saves Clement Attlee.
They're making it sound like there's a Terminator situation where some person has gone back to kill Clement Attlee, and now they need to send another person back to save Clement Attlee. If he changes the past, so be it. But he has to save Clement Attlee.
Okay. So we're not talking lost rules. We're talking Terminator rules.
Yes, we are. I think.
Okay. There's only one man.
So anyway, he writes a message behind a strip of wallpaper on his flat, knowing that Ron is redecorating it in 1999.
Clever.
So, like Frequency, which we should definitely do an episode on.
Yeah.
His writing appears before Ron and Yvonne in real time. So
because he hasn't done it yet.
So that happens in Frequency where he's writing to his dad and he sees it doesn't make any sense. It should always just be there, but fine. Because both time zones are happening at the same time.
At the same time. Although not according to Gary, because he's like, it doesn't count.
Yeah. It apparently is though, Gary. So on the note, he's saying to ask Ron to tell, sort of taking the coward's way out. He's asking Ron to tell Yvonne everything.
Brilliant. Poor Ron. Poor Ron, the counterfeit pal of this bigamist.
and I think the writers couldn't be asked because it happens off camera.
Well, that's a long and for us quite dull scene.
We know.
We know.
It's like the origin story of Spider-Man. It's like, we know.
We don't need to see Bruce Wayne's parents get killed again.
And so it comes back and Yvonne is telling Ron, I don't want to see Gary again. Fine. Yeah. Then the final episode, it ends with
that was her take upon discovering time travel is real. Well, I'm done with Gary. He has gone too far this time.
She is standing outside the gates of Blitz and Pieces.
Yeah.
Wondering whether or not they will ever meet again.
Where did she? So she didn't know about Blitz and Pieces.
She knows about Blitz and Pieces.
Where does she think he was getting all this war merch.
He's just a genius. He's just really good at sourcing such material.
Okay.
And meanwhile, in 1945, Gary is also doing the same at Duckett's Passage. There's like a wall, and he's like up against it, saying he's just wondering the same thing. Am I ever going to see Yvonne again?
Yeah.
And then he's joined by Phoebe and Michael.
Do I really care?
Do I care?
Yeah.
Do you want to see a bit of the end of the episode?
Yeah.
Gary can't get through the wall.
No, maybe it's just shifted. I mustn't panic. No, it went away once before, remember? Just a question of waiting. Oh, my God.
This is a pleasant surprise.
Not for me. I want the truth. Where is Gary?
I don't know. That is the truth.
Liar, you must know. He always confides in you. He's been gone 3 days now and not a peep out of him. He has got another woman, hasn't he?
Yvonne, you barge in here while I'm unwinding with a life in the day of Julia Roberts. Get up, shower, don't shave.
Ron, I've been doing a kickboxing class at the gym and I'm eager to practice on a large, flabby scouse victim.
Yvonne, I really think this is something for you and Gary to...
Poor Ron.
Also, when she called him a scouse victim,
it
made it sound like she was saying that he was a victim of being scouse.
In the past. The time portal's vanished.
The message appearing now.
Tell Yvonne I'm sorry. Tell her everything. Try to explain.
But what I like about all that is that even though they didn't really want to get bogged down with the sci-fi, they really went for it with trying to like...
The pathos.
Yeah, and give it a good end. And,
You know, proper finale, good.
Explain it and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, quite sad in its own way, even though he kind of deserves everything that's coming to him.
I mean, the worst thing that happened to him is he's stuck in the past with his slightly nicer wife.
Yes.
Like, it's not really the equal price paid for his actions. But.
So other storylines throughout the show include in Series 5, Episode 3. Now, a bit of a controversial move, this one, in my opinion.
Oh.
So a bomb in the 40s causes haywire for the time portal. And for a couple of episodes, people were just able to sort of move between the time zones.
What?
So Ron goes back to the 40s.
Right.
And calls himself Commander Bond. And he starts telling people all kinds of like future stuff. But because they think that they're all so outlandish and silly, they just think he's mental.
Yeah.
And then in the 90s, Phoebe follows Gary and goes to the 90s.
What?
And finds his Blitz and Pieces shop. And because it's all like 40s, she sort of doesn't realise she's in the 90s.
Yeah.
And Gary's a bit of a dick here. And he plays like an audio recording of like an air raid siren to scare her. So she hides under a table to get her out of the way. But then before she heads back, she actually meets Yvonne.
Right.
They come face to face. And they have a bit of a standoff, but they don't say anything to incriminate him.
Yeah.
And Gary just stands there in shock, but then totally gets away with it. She just walks off. And they were like, okay, got away with that one. And then time portal's fixed and it's fine.
Wow. So he's not just a bigamist, he was psychologically manipulates and terrifies his 1940s wife.
It's a bit,
Okay.
Series 5, Episode 8.
Yeah.
He has a dream of a certain Rolf Harris. And in a cameo role, he appears singing Two Little Boys. Now, not sure that one gets repeated nowadays.
No.
And I'm thinking about it, and when I wrote that, do you ever see this repeated? It's on BritBox in full.
Yeah.
But I don't remember the last time this was on telly.
No.
Maybe it's just even controversial.
Even on the more niche channels.
Oh, yeah.
They're like...
It'll be on Gold or something.
Yeah, but they're like, I'm going to give this bigamist airtime.
But anyway, it is all on BritBox. I highly recommend watching it. Series 2, Episode 1, it's established that it's set in the same canon as Dad's Army.
What?
So Gary goes into a bank in 1941 and he meets a bank manager called Mannering. And then Wilson is his chief clerk. And they're both in the Home Guard in the 40s.
So it's but different actors, presumably.
Yeah, different actors. And then he hears the names Mannering and Wilson and he starts singing the Dad's Army theme song.
What? But then how can it be in the same universe?
It doesn't make any sense.
So does Dad's Army exist as a TV show in the Goodnight Sweetheart universe?
Yes, but also the real Dad's Army appears.
That doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
It makes no sense.
No, but I love it all the same.
All right.
Yeah. I think they were like,
what if
it's place in the 40s?
What if it's just a huge coincidence that those guys are
maybe that's what they were trying
Mannering
to say.
and Wilson and
It's probably what they're trying to say because they're in the Home Guard and they're called Mannering and Wilson.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of it.
I don't know what the idea even is. That it both exists, but it's also...
You know, it would have been fine if he didn't sing the Dad's Army theme.
Fine.
Because then we could have gone, oh.
Although, is that an actual song? Like Goodnight Sweetheart, or is that just the Dad's Army theme?
No, the Dad's Army theme.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if he hadn't done that, I'd go, oh, okay, well, no, it's the same universe.
Yeah,
Great,
yeah.
cool, okay. But no, because he did that, you're like, no, you've broken the fourth wall now. Doesn't make any sense.
Now it's silly.
Yeah. Now it's silly. Series 6, Episode 5, he travels the wrong way from the 40s and he ends up in Victorian London.
What? I don't remember this.
Where Jack the Ripper is on the loose.
Of course. Yeah, sure.
He learns that the murderer has
Sorry, this was the final series, right?
Yeah, note that most of these are series 5 and 6.
Yeah,
the last two series.
Let's wrap it up.
He learns that the murderer has been using the backyard of his shop as a hideout. And then it also turns out that Jack the Ripper was never caught because he was run over by a bus in 1999 when using the time portal.
So Jack the Ripper escapes to the 90s?
Yes, not unknowingly, and then gets hit by a bus. And that's why he's never...
Yeah.
Never caught.
They're like, look, we've explored so many different plots in Goodnight Sweetheart.
What else?
The one thing we've not really tackled is why did they never catch Jack the Ripper?
Yeah. It's not the right time zone, but let's just do it.
Classic sitcom fare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, like, that in that instance, they're kind of saying that always was the thing that always happened. Because that's why Jack the Ripper was never caught.
Yeah.
But that's not the other time rules at all that they're abiding by, because Gary's changing things all the time.
I don't think this show makes much sense. Yeah.
This is the problem when you have sitcom writers who are brilliant at sitcom writing.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit about the sci-fi lore. They don't care. They're just doing it as they will.
How dare they?
And finally, in Series 5, Episode 10, Gary's now grown-up son, Michael, comes into his shop in the 90s.
What? He's travelled back from the future?
No. He's just older.
What?
So his son in the 40s.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant he had a kid in the 90s.
No.
That would be good. If he had a kid in the 90s and it turns out he later found another portal and travelled back from the future. Yeah.
So his son from the 40s has grown up.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And he's now in the 90s.
Yeah.
Now, why didn't he think... maybe he did. I haven't watched all the episodes recently. But wouldn't you look him up?
Yeah.
Because...
Well, no. He's like, oh, shit, I never run into him.
Yeah.
That'd be awkward.
So his son, Michael, comes into his shop to sell some of Phoebe's things into his 40s shop.
So has Phoebe died at this point?
I assume so at this point, yes. He has spent time in prison and he lives in a one-room flat in Hackney.
Oh.
So after seeing what could become of Michael, Gary attempts to make sure he has a brighter future.
Right, so he can change the
Yes, exactly.
Right, okay.
So his decision to donate the royalties from a song he wrote for Phoebe, so one of his famous songs that he's nicked from someone else.
Which again is changing history.
Makes all the difference to Michael's future. So he's he's passed off a song and got publishing rights and make sure that Michael's well off.
Yeah.
So this time it changes things. Now Michael is a success and he's moved to New Zealand and he has 2 children. And the girl is named Phoebe, named after his grandmother.
Yeah.
Not her grandmother. But Gary is disappointed to hear that his grandson is not named after him. So it's like he's changed the past, but for whatever reason, Michael doesn't like him or respect him.
Right. Well,
it sounds like.
Serves him right, given that he got that money through lies and
exactly.
Seat. Yeah.
So a bit bittersweet, that one.
Yeah.
But in a little twist, Michael, the older Michael, played by Ian Lavender of Dad's Army fame.
Right. So if Ian Lavender is a Goodnight Sweetheart.
Yeah.
Wait. Oh no.
It's a time paradox.
So no, because that makes it even worse because there's one possibility that Dad's Army and Goodnight Sweetheart take place in the same fictional universe.
Yes.
That's option number 1.
Okay.
Option number 2 is that Goodnight Sweetheart Dad's Army is a TV show in the Goodnight Sweetheart universe.
Yes.
But if Ian Lavender is in Goodnight Sweetheart, then Gary would recognize him as the actor from Dad's Army. So it's both exists as reality within Goodnight Sweetheart, but it's also a TV show within Goodnight Sweetheart, but it's also neither because Gary is definitely not a TV show because Gary would recognize Ian Lavender.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All in all.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Anyway, cast.
Yeah.
So Nicholas Lyndhurst.
Yeah.
Best known in the UK.
Very posh.
He's very posh in this, but he's very posh in real life.
He is very posh in real life, but I don't remember him being that posh in this.
But he's so good because in Only Fools and Horses, he's very cockney and all that. He was in Butterflies before that, of course. He won 2 NTA awards, National Television Awards, for Goodnight Sweetheart.
Good.
And he will soon appear in the Frasier reboot.
Yeah.
Now, that came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But it turns out he's just great mates with Kelsey Grammer because they appeared in the play together.
He hasn't done anything since like New Tricks, has he?
I don't think so, not acting.
Lyndhurst? No.
But great. Look forward to
just
that.
living off those Only Fools royalties.
Yeah.
And not the Goodnight Sweetheart royalties because no one shows it anymore.
No.
But,
he was only 32 when he was in Goodnight Sweetheart.
No.
Doesn't he look much older than that?
That means when it ends, he's like 38 at least. But
which means in Only Fools and Horses, he was
Yeah, but he's meant to be young in that.
I guess
in
so.
this, he's meant to be he's not just got one wife and kid, he's got two.
I think I didn't say he looked awful in mid-90s, the end of Only Fools and Horses.
Yeah.
But he must have only been like 34.
40. No.
Yeah, because it started when he was 32. A couple of years later, Only Fools and Horses ended. So he was like 34, 35, younger than us now. Anyway, Victor Maguire plays Ron. He appeared. He's been in all sorts of British TV shows and films. He was in Bread, and he was a thief in Lock, Stock.
Yeah, Lock, Stock. Yeah, I remember in that. Yeah.
Christopher Ettridge played both PC Deadmans in both time periods. So both of Gary's partners are played by two actors.
Yeah, the wives got recast, right?
Which at the same time.
Yeah.
So they both left after series 3 and were replaced from series 4 onwards. So they both appeared in 3 series each.
Was there like a break in production or something? Or?
No. Dervla Kerwin just sort of didn't want to be in it anymore.
Well, surely she's off to bigger Ballykiss Angel.
Well, the thing is, I think like she was already in Ballykiss Angel, the crossover, but she did the same thing in Ballykiss Angel. Do you remember? She got recast.
Right. No, she didn't.
Or she left at least.
She left.
She left mid show.
Don't get me started on that.
What?
Ballykiss Angel.
Oh yeah, because they both leave, don't they?
So Dervla Kerwin, again, we're never going to talk about this anywhere else. No. Dervla Kerwin, Stephen Tompkinson, it was like a will they, won't they?
Yeah, great.
She's I think, is she a barmaid in that as well?
Might be, yeah.
I think so. And just typecast.
He's a priest.
Right? He's a priest, and they're sort of like, oh, will they, won't they? Yeah. And then they're both going to leave the show, so it's like, well, how do we write them out? In her final episode, they finally kiss.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, we kissed, lovely. It's something like a light bulb was blown. I'll just go change the fuses, and she gets electrocuted and dies.
No.
Yeah, and then
do that?
And then Tompkinson's like, I'm heartbroken. I'm leaving Ballykiss Angel. Why not just have them leave together?
Yeah, if they're both leaving anyway.
Yeah, bizarre. And again,
it's like Cold Feet when they killed off Baxendale in the last episode.
Quite light-hearted, frothy show.
See, that, in my opinion, has probably killed the legacy of Ballykiss Angel. No one,
legacy of Ballykiss Angel.
Why would you ever watch it from the start knowing that that's what happened?
No.
Why did they do that?
I'm still mad about it now, genuinely.
I'm furious.
Yeah.
That is one of the worst decisions of any British TV show of all time.
Every so often I'll just be like sat there, eating my Cheerios, and I'll think, remember how shit
what were they thinking?
The end of, Gen 1 of Ballykiss Angel was. Hashtag justice for Assumpta.
So did they replace them with two other will they, won't they romance?
Yeah. There were loads of different priests, loads of different female leads. Colin Farrell was one of the...
Yeah, he was. Yeah. Anyway.
But yeah, I mean, for a show that is already, makes a hero of a bigamy, it's not great, is it, that they swapped out both of the female leads and were like, they won't notice.
So she was replaced by Elizabeth Carling, and she's great.
Fine.
And do you know what? Do you know in Back to the Future, how after the first one...
Oh, they change Jennifer.
Jennifer has changed.
Yeah.
As a kid, I'd never really noticed.
No.
And same with George McFly.
Yeah.
You don't only see him in like the back, but I never knew that it was a different actor playing George in the future.
Yeah, but didn't they do that thing of like they put
him upside down
and they got Crispin, and they literally got like a mask of Crispin Glover's face and made the other guy wear it. But to be clear, this new actress wasn't wearing like Dervla Kerwin's face.
He was just
like some kind of terrifying
Jennifer,
serial killer.
I never noticed. I feel like for
Yvonne
at least, I never really noticed until now.
Yeah.
So Michelle Holmes played the original Yvonne. She was replaced by Emma Amos. But yeah,
all good,
all great,
all good.
Yeah. So I totally forgot that this happened.
Right.
It returned.
Oh yeah.
In 2016.
Yeah. This I remember clearly.
I can't believe it.
Did you see it at the time?
No.
Oh, it was great.
I've watched it now.
Oh, you watched it? Yeah.
And it was great.
It's really good.
And they've done it properly.
So
it's called Many Happy Returns.
Yeah. So there was like a BBC season.
Oh yeah, that was it.
It was something like to celebrate 60 years of the sitcom or something like that. And they did all these different things. So they did like a sequel to Porridge, which is not very good.
No.
And they did a sort of...
Keeping Up Appearances prequel.
Yeah.
Okay, it was fine.
Which was fine. And they did sort of like a remake of Are You Being Served?
Was this where Still Open All Hours came from as well?
No, that was just separate.
Oh, okay.
But they're doing all these different like twists and ways of revisiting sitcoms. They did a full, so they were kind of like pilots. They did a full series, maybe even 2, I think, of Porridge.
Yeah.
This,
I know.
Goodnight Sweetheart.
This was the only one that actually worked.
It was brilliant.
Yeah.
The writers wanted to do more.
Yeah.
Never happened.
Any reason why?
No, baffling. Utterly baffling. It was great.
So in this one, they've made an effort.
It was really good.
And it makes sense to bring it back.
Yeah.
It was really good. So Gary is still married to Phoebe.
Still stuck in the past.
At this point, he's in the 60s.
Yeah.
So their son Michael was a teenager. So he's missing the modern world and he decides, hang on, I was born in the 60s. Why don't I go to the hospital and see me being born? Be a laugh, wouldn't it? And he meets his father, a bit Back to the Future-esque, who faints, and then Gary ends up holding his younger self by accident. And because of this, some sort of timey-wimey stuff
Don't worry about
kicks in, and he's thrown into the future in the 2010s. And he arrives in the men's toilets of a trendy burger joint in London where his shop used to be.
Right. And so, so they've just knocked down. Well, I guess they would because he's been missing for 20 years. Yeah.
And so he's like, oh, bloody hell, what's going on here? So the amount of time that's passed since then in both periods, that makes sense. And he meets Yvonne, who's now a multi-millionaire investor. She's in Dragon's Den and all sorts.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Bit silly.
Yeah.
And Ron is her tenant in the basement. And it turns out Yvonne got pregnant.
Not by Ron.
No.
Oh.
by Gary. Before the closure of the time portal. I don't think she knew she was pregnant.
So he's got a kid he never met. Yeah, I remember this.
And he's got a 16-year-old daughter named Ellie.
Yeah.
And so after meeting her, he's like, wonder if I could do another double life so I can keep hanging out with my daughter.
Right.
And it's sort of implied that he is going to do that.
Yeah, in the series. That never happened. And that again, it's like, not only is he a bigamist, but he's a deadbeat dad. Great. More pathos.
Yeah. Let's watch a clip then from Many Happy Returns.
Yeah.
Terrific sense of humour. Loyal. Intelligent.
If he was so loyal, why did he walk out on us?
Fair point.
Maybe he didn't know about you.
I haven't told Mum, but when I'm 18, I'm going to go look for him.
Good casting. Looks like
Of course, he may not want to
the Yvonne
know
actress.
me.
Yeah.
Bet he would.
Good acting.
Yeah.
Taxi for Ellie?
Yeah.
What happened to engines?
Yeah, it's a quiet car. Yeah.
Niche gag, but good.
Odd, but interesting.
What I remember liking about this
See you around?
Hope so.
is that he was always the man who knew, had all the answers.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, he'd bring back all the stuff from the future.
Whereas now he's out of touch because he's been missing from the present day for 16 years.
So it seems like the portal's in a toilet now.
Can you hurry up? I have to go. Thank you.
But the brick wall's still there.
It's the same wall, is it? Okay.
So now he's gone back to the 60s.
Yeah. Bit dodgy though, because you end up in the men's toilets each time.
Yeah. Yeah. He literally did just walk in on someone having a... an easy gag, but a good one.
Normal service has been resumed.
Clearly setting up for a series that never happened.
But and you're running out of time now because you could have had this whole series in the 70s, and now it's going to have to be in the 70s if you're going to do it.
Yeah.
Oh well. Great though.
Yeah, great.
Well done.
There's a scene in it where Nicholas Lyndhurst sings Hello by Adele.
Yeah.
Really good. Sounds weird. It is a bit weird. It's also really good. Sorry.
And also there was a stage musical for a while with songs from the 40s and the 80s for some reason. They must change the time zones for some reason. It debuted at the Brookside Theatre in Romford in September 2018. I don't think it had much more life after that.
No.
I like that it existed. I like that it happened.
I mean, yeah, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
With the there's a musical element to it. And, okay.
So, thoughts on Goodnight Sweetheart?
Yeah. Problematic. But I still, for me, there's something about the premise, and not so much the bigamy, but like I say, the concept is far more involved and interesting, and maybe not well thought out. All the intricacies of the time travel and all that kind of stuff. But actually, again, that idea of 2 time zones and one man can travel between them, and he has a dual life and what that means, and really compelling as well as being funny. And then like I say, when it came back, the idea that he was now the kind of the fish out of water, the man out of time. He wasn't the man with all the answers. I'm really good. Just a shame it didn't continue.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it ran too long. Maybe 6 series was too. That's just what you did back then.
But
the sitcom just lasted.
Maybe when you get into Jack the Ripper territory, you've stuck around too long.
Yeah.
But you had that break. They came back. It wasn't just like, oh, let's bring it back for the sake of it. They had a really good idea, really good take on it.
Yeah.
This idea of, like I say, he's now the man. The fish out of water, the man out of time, and he's going to try and rebuild this relationship with his daughter. It's got a whole new twist on it. Could have been great. Could have been great. Never mind.
Well, that is it for Two Geeks, Two Beers this episode. So for more episodes all about pop culture history lessons, including other time travel projects such as Back to the Future, Crime Traveller, Doctor Who, all sorts, head to twogeeks2beers.com and you can subscribe to our podcast on all the usual platforms.
If there's one show where the time travel rules make less sense than a Goodnight Sweetheart, it's Crime Traveller. Everybody knows time travel is not possible. Please spread the word about the show with your like-minded mates and family members. Or you can rate or review the show on our website. Just find the Rate This Podcast button. It's really easy and makes a huge difference. Please do that. And you can also support us on Patreon, where we post bonus mini-sodes, some of which end up being half the length of a full episode. We've recorded a batch of them recently, and we're really pleased with them, including episodes about our cinema snack etiquette rules and big pop culture properties that have totally passed us by, some of which are very embarrassing. You can find us on patreon.com/2geekscast.
And of course, email us podcast@twogeeks2beers.com or follow us on TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's all @2geekscast. So until next time, Morgan, good night, sweetheart.
Good night, darling.
So, if you were in Gary's situation and you could go back to the past and just steal any song, you're only allowed one song you can steal and then pass it off as your own.
Yeah.
What would you do?
I think it would have to be Thinking Out Loud by Ed Sheeran.
Okay.
2 reasons. One, very popular song.
Yeah.
You know what I'm going to say? It's a very popular song. I would make a load of money.
Yeah, you would, yeah.
But also, I would write Thinking Out Loud before Marvin Gaye wrote. Is it Let's Get It On?
And get your own back on.
And then when Marvin Gaye wrote that, I would then sue Marvin Gaye, because that just sounds like fun.
And you'd be like, for Ed. I was trying to think. I'd probably just do Last Christmas. Something like that. Just something that it will come back every single year.
Yeah, that's a good idea. All I Want for Christmas is You. Right, a Christmas classic. Yeah.
Because if it's the 40s, most of those like proper, like White Christmas has already happened by that point.
Yeah. You'd have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think I don't know, would the 1940s be ready for? You'd have to.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I don't think they'd be ready for
That's what annoys me about Yesterday. You see.
Yeah.
Because there's a bit where he's in now, but he's doing like Beatles songs and quite niche ones. There's one bit where he's doing like Carry That Weight, and that wouldn't be a hit in 2015 or whatever.
No.
Maybe you could do. I think even if you released All You Need Is Love in 2015, it would be like, I don't care.
No. It's why I thought about it. But it's why I didn't pick Big for Your Boots by Stormzy. I thought about it, but not sure it would sell.